Hey, what's up everyone? Shamrocked back with part 4 of our Resto Shaman 101 series. For this video, we will be going over one of our key major throughput cooldowns, Ascendance. If you are a new or returning player looking to play Resto Shaman for the War Within expansion, I encourage you to go check out the parts 1 to 3 of this guide before starting on this one. They go over important tips for our standard healing rotation, as well as an in-depth look at what talents to take in the Shaman class talent tree. And with that out of the way, let's dive into Ascendance. Ascendance is the ultimate Shaman class fantasy button, turning the user into an elemental ascendant that radiates power. Originating a long time ago in the Cataclysm expansion, the concept of elemental ascendance has a slightly dark undertone, as it was used by the evil Twilight's Hammer faction at the time as they infused mortals with intense raw elemental power. The effectiveness of this cooldown really reflects this, turning you into a powerful avatar of your chosen element, which in our case is water. Unfortunately, the Ascendance model is in dire need of an update, but don't let that fool you. Ascendance is probably your most effective throughput cooldown, as it duplicates 70% of all healing you do and redistributes it evenly across all allies within 40 yards. Additionally, activating Ascendance results in a huge personal instant heal, turning Ascendance into a quick defensive button as well, sort of the equivalent of using a health potion that also does a modest burst of healing to the group. Due to how Ascendance works, it will only ever be as effective as you are with your standard kit. And what I mean by that is that since Ascendance is duplicating the healing that you are doing, the best way to maximize throughput with this cooldown is to maximize your healing rotation. If you watched part 3 of my Resto Shaman 101 series where we talk about Ancestral guidance, the same rotations apply here, mainly using the special Primordial Wave and Undulation tech and utilizing your High Tide chain heals, preferably also buffed with the Flow of the Tides talent. For a quick refresh, getting your Undulation counter to 1 and then casting Healing Wave after using Primordial Wave will ensure that all of the Healing Wave cleaves on the group triggered by Primordial Wave will carry the additional 50% healing buff from the Undulation talent. In addition to maximizing your rotation, there are a few other tricks you can use to make Ascendance even juicier. But first, we need to understand a little better how Ascendance works. Unlike Ancestral guidance, the healing done by Ascendance is what we may call dumb healing, meaning it does not discriminate between injured allies and allies at full health. The duplicated Ascendance healing, called Restorative Mists on details and logs, is split evenly among all allies within 40 yards, making it our least effective single target healing cooldown. But there is a way you can manipulate this. If there is an incoming high damage window and you want to ensure that none of your Ascendance healing goes to waste, you can combine Spirit Link Totem with Ascendance. As Spirit Link Totem redistributes the group's health, which we will talk about more in a later part of this series, it will ensure that all of the duplicated Ascendance healing is put to good use. This makes the Spirit Link Totem and Ascendance combination a truly powerful and efficient power combo to keep the group alive during high damage windows. The second trick to really empowering Ascendance is to combine it with Ancestral guidance. All of the healing duplicated by Ascendance, which as a reminder is 70% of all healing you do, will then also be duplicated by Ancestral guidance, which will individually replicate 10% of all of that healing onto 3 injured allies. Let's slow down and use some simple math to break it down a little bit easier. If I have both Ascendance and Ancestral guidance active, and I cast a healing surge that does exactly 100 healing, Ascendance will duplicate 70% of that as Restorative Mists. Ancestral guidance will then duplicate 10% of the initial healing surge as well as 10% of the Restorative Mist healing. But also remember that Ancestral guidance is duplicating this healing onto 3 players, so it is actually a 30% duplication. Using that example, your initial healing surge would do 100 healing. Your Restorative Mists would do 70 healing, which is 70% of 100, distributed evenly across the group. Your Ancestral guidance would then do 10% of both the 100 healing surge healing, a value of 10, and the 70 Restorative Mists healing, a value of 7, all multiplied by 3 players. Putting it all together, we have 100 plus 70 plus 17 times 3, which equals 221 total. This means that while both of these abilities are active, your single healing surge went from doing just 100 healing to doing a total of 221 healing. To summarize, Using both Ascendance and Ancestral Guidance increases all of your standard healing to 221% effectiveness, and it does so in a way that distributes your healing across the group, creating an unstoppable healing force that can save groups from even the most dire of situations. To sweeten the deal even further, Ascendance now has 2 augment talents to choose from. First Ascendant, which decreases the cooldown of Ascendance from 3 minutes to 2 minutes, and Preeminence, which increases your haste by 25% while in Ascendance form, and increases the duration of the cooldown by 3 seconds. In a Mythic Plus environment, my standard recommendation would be to take First Ascendant for 2 reasons. The first reason is that generally in Mythic Plus, medium-strong abilities with shorter cooldowns are almost entirely more useful than extremely powerful abilities on larger cooldowns, mostly due in part to how damage patterns and boss abilities usually revolve around 45-second to 1-minute cycles. Second, if you recall, Ancestral Guidance is also on a 2-minute cooldown, meaning that if you really wanted to, you could always pair these 2 cooldowns together. And now you might be asking, should you always be pairing these 2 cooldowns? My answer would be a definitive no, as you will not always, in fact, really not often, need that level of throughput. But there will be inevitably some situations where you will want to pair these 2 abilities going into the next season, and being able to sync them up is an incredible option that shouldn't be slept on. Finally, a few words of caution. Ascendance will not duplicate any totem healing, and so does not directly synergize with Healing Tide Totem, Healing Stream Totem, or Cloudburst Totem. It also does not feed into Cloudburst Totem either, except for an odd interaction where the initial burst of healing when activating Ascendance will contribute to your Cloudburst Totem. Confused yet? Me too. And with that, I think we are done discussing Ascendance. Here's a quick recap of the main points. 1. Ascendance will duplicate all of the healing you do at 70% effectiveness split across all allies within 40 yards, whether they are injured or not. The extra healing is called Restorative Mists. Number 2. Activating Ascendance will give you a burst of healing in the same way that using a health potion would, while also replicating this at 70% effectiveness to the group, turning Ascendance into a great instant oh shit button when unexpected damage is taken. This initial burst of healing will also feed Cloudburst Totem. Number 3. Using Spirit Link Totem with Ascendance will ensure that none of the duplicated healing is wasted on full health allies. Number 4. Using Ancestral Guidance during Ascendance will increase the value of your normal spells to 221% effectiveness instead of just 170%. Number 5. Talenting into First Ascendant will allow you to more easily sync up Ascendance with Ancestral Guidance, as well as allow it to line up better with boss abilities on its own. And finally, number 6. Ascendance does not duplicate any totem healing and does not feed into Cloudburst Totem other than the initial burst of healing. Ascendance really is an important tool for all Restoration Shamans, and mastering this cooldown is one of the keys to being able to confidently deal with the insane damage output that occurs in title level Mythic Plus. I hope all of these tips were helpful, and I encourage you to take what you have learned and try it out in the field. Now, if only they could fix that model. Woof. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you at the next guide.